everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about Norma Basalis. We'll start our topic with introduction. Norma Basalis refers to the inferior view of the skull, showcasing the base of the cranium and critical anatomical structures. This perspective is vital for understanding neurosurgery, cranial anatomy, and forensic investigation, as it provides insight into the brain's core structures, foramina that are opening in the base of the skull, and articulations between bones. Now let's talk about bones that are visible from the Norma Basalis. Several bones contribute to the base of the skull, forming strong protective structures for the brain. And these include frontal bone, temporal bone, sphenoid bone, occipital bone, parietal bone, palatine bone. The first bone we are going to talk about is frontal bone. That forms part of anterior base of the skull, and it contributes to the roof of the orbit and the anterior cranial fossa. Next bone that is visible is sphenoid bone. It is located centrally at skull base. And in diagram you can see the yellow color bone is the sphenoid bone. It contains sella turcica and it houses the pituitary gland. It includes greater and lesser wings that forms key structure and part of the cranial bones. Next bone we have is temporal bone, that is paired bone, and it houses structure vital for hearing and balance, including internal auditory meatus, and it contains the mastoid process that is crucial for muscle attachment. The next bone we can see is occipital bone, that it forms the posterior part of skull bone. It contains the foramen magnum through which the spinal cord connects to the brainstem. The next bone we have is parietal bone that contributes to the lateral portion of the cranial vault. It articulates with the temporal and occipital bone. The next bone we have is maxilla that forms the upper jaw and it contributes to the hard palate. It contains infraorbital foramen allowing passage for nerves. The next bone we have is palatine bone, that is paired bone, and it forms the posterior portion of hard palate and helps in separating the nasal cavity from the oral cavity. Now we will talk about the key anatomical features that are visible from the Norma Basalis. There are foramen magnum that allows passage of the spinal cord and thus connecting it to the brainstem. Next we have is carotid canal that transmits the internal carotid artery. Next we have is jugular foramen that is passage for jugular vein and cranial nerves. Next is hypoglossal canal that allows passage for the hypoglossal nerve controlling tongue movements. The next is stylomastoid foramen that transmit the facial nerve and control expression. Now let's talk about the clinical and surgical application of the Norma Basalis. First, it is important in neurosurgeries as it helps in understanding foraminal location, help in procedure involving nerves and arteries. And it is also important in understanding skull base fracture. It is vital in diagnosing traumatic injuries affecting cranial nerves. And forensic identification that is used in reconstructing skull profiles for personal identification. So this was all about Norma Basalis. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. And thank you for watching.